Okay, here we go. Our reading for the month of August. We're going to start off with an issue and advice spread. What's our issue for the month of August and what's the advice? Okay, and I'm going to give this a very quick, straightforward reading. We've got Queen of Rods as a reversed card in the issue position. So Queen of Rods likes to be seen. She likes to feel beautiful. She likes to get on. She likes to have status. If then we are feeling underappreciated, okay, not given our due, not seen for the fabulous person that we are, what's the advice? Okay, this is quite nice. Starts off with a card I always like seeing in the advice position. Six of Rods, a card of victory, whatever that means. But how do we deal with that in the advice position? I see it like this. Give yourself some kind of victory or success, okay? So that's taking it back into your own hands. What I mean by that is that there are some victories and some successes that you can't choose to have because they are dependent on other people or on circumstances. But there are some victories and some successes that are well within your grasp. Now, I'm going to be a bit jokey here. It could be like cleaning the flat. If, like me, you're someone for whom it's not a regular thing. It involves a bit of enthusiasm and a bit of, self-kicking, But I made that little joke in order to indicate what sort of advice this is. It could be a little bit more serious than that. It could be something like give yourself a task which is a little bit of a challenge, but you're fairly certain you could do it. Now that could be, for example, okay, things coming into my head, hosting an event for friends or family that you're not quite sure if you could handle, but you feel you need to do it. It would make them feel good. It would make you feel good. Or it could be, deal with that bit of bureaucracy and then it's done. Do your tax return and then it's done. Or even do that little thing which you want to do for yourself or your profile or for your career, if you think in those terms, and send that thing off, make that phone call, and then let that be the victory that you've made that move. Not necessarily the victory of becoming king or queen of the world, but the victory of having done something for yourself and achieved something for yourself. Okay? So that's what we're going to say. Now, Page of Swords is the card of the observer or the spy, of being observed, being watched, and sometimes that card advises caution. So I'm going to say, if that's reversed, okay, you're not being watched. Okay, is that a nice feeling? You're not being observed, you're not being spied on. So that means, well, there is that expression, isn't there? Dance like no one's watching. Imagine that you're not being watched or judged. How would you proceed? Okay, so that's a little bit of a permission to be a bit of a devil, I think. And Five of Swords reversed. I don't think there is the danger of a humiliating defeat. If there is, if these cards are suggesting a thing for you, a course of action, a scheme, an idea or a plan, that's something you can do for yourself, a bit devilishly. I think this last card means there isn't really the danger of falling flat on your face. Okay, so you might as well go for it. Okay. Let's leave those there and do something else. One or two questions for the month ahead. Is it one or two? One. We're going to have one question for the month ahead, and I'm only going to accept aces, major arcana, knights or pages. Okay? Aces, major arcana, knights or pages. And it's one question. As T.S. Eliot would say, to roll it all towards one overwhelming question for the month of August. Please give us one question for the month of August. Okay, lovers, we've got major arcana. What is the decision? What's the either or decision? What's the fork in the road? In the month of August. That's interesting. I'm feeling I need a second card because we're talking about a decision, a fork in the road, aren't we? Okay. And I'm going to flip those because they're both reversed. So we have a decision here between satisfaction and inspiration. Between the full belly and the dream. Now that's quite a provocative reading for what in the Northern Hemisphere is clearly the holiday month, because the holiday month does involve quite a lot of satisfaction, or at least the, going for that or hoping for that or wishing for that if we're on holiday. And quite a lot of full belly activity. But also it's, Page of Cups seems to be by the seaside here, and Page of Cups is getting more and more relaxed to the extent where he or she can hear the message from the fish, the message from the subconscious. So I think in the month of August, we are going to be presented with both these things. We're going to be presented with opportunities for comfort and satisfaction and gratification. But there's also going to be the possibility of inspiration, dreams, and messages as we unwind. And then I think the reason why this is coming up as a decision card is that when that happens, then maybe is the time to withdraw and take notes, whether actually notes with a pen and paper or take mental notes or just take note. But don't necessarily go straight back to the pizzeria without having noted down that idea, okay? We're going to end with a little bit of sortilege. which is the practice of using a non-oracle for oracular purposes. And here we have, guess what? My mum's copy of the poems of John Keats. There's no date on this edition, but look, it cost 8 shillings. So it's probably from the 30s or from the 50s, probably not from the 40s. Okay, so we're going to flick through this book. Now, there is a bookmark in there on the Eve of St. Agnes. That's going to have to come out. Going to flick through this book. It's a bit difficult to shuffle, isn't it, with a book? We're in Hyperion. What am I then? Thou spakest of my tribe. What tribe? The tall shade, veiled in drooping white, then spake, so much more earnest that the breath moved the thin linen folds that drooping hung about a golden censer from the hand pendant. Art thou not of the dreamer tribe? The poet and the dreamer are distinct, diverse, sheer, opposite antipodes. The one pours out a balm upon the world, the other vexes it. Now that's quite a sophisticated observation by John Keats about the difference between a poet and a dreamer. But I think I want to stop. My finger was here. Thou spakest of my tribe, what tribe? And then the apparition says, art thou not of the dreamer tribe? Now I think if you're picking up a pack of tarot cards, you probably belong to the dreamer tribe. And I think the message I'm getting for August is not to forget that and to honor that. Now, Keats says that to be a dreamer can cause vexation to the world. You know, there are some dreams, I can think of a few which I won't mention, which do make the world a worse place. And Keats is advising us to go from dreaming to being creators of poetry. Okay, so that's the correct use of dreams. It's the correct use of the messages from the subconscious to turn them into something beautiful, to turn them into something healing. Keats, bless him, he trained as a doctor, he trained as a surgeon. He saw a lot of people very sick in hospitals, and he understood that the god Apollo was the god of poetry and of medicine. So he saw the poet as a healer. And I think he was talking about the creative and the artistic impulse as a healing impulse for mankind. Okay, so there's a little nudge there for us in that little passage of Keats. You have been watching Tea and Tara. I am Robert Farrar, and I'll be back next week with more of this stuff. Bye.